Welcome back, and to highlight the importance and definitely the outcome of this summit, we have with us over the phone His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon to you, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Fine, thank you so much. And speaking about this very important, very timely summit that is taking place in St. Petersburg or Petersburg in Russia, let me here take your reading to this summit, the timing of it, and the promises that were made during this summit.
It is one more circle in a chain of conferences addressing Africa. Our president witnessed the TICAD in Tokyo in 2019. He witnessed many other occasions like that.
The first edition.
We invited similar conference in Sharm el-Sheikh 2019. Egypt was the first country who established this sort of conferences. That was the year 2000 in Cairo, the Euro-African Conference. So it is a chain of conferences addressing Africa, and we hope this will create more and more power for the favor of Africa and for the African development. Also, the timing here is very important because we are facing many problems on the international, the regional, and bilateral level. So this is a good occasion to discuss these matters for the world peace and the world economic reform.
Definitely, Your Excellency, the whole world is highly into Africa, particularly the past few years. And we've seen lots and lots of important summits taking place. The United States has given great importance to Africa. China has given great importance to to Africa. Russia, but this is the second edition of this summit, or the second edition of the Russian African Summit. That the first one was in 2019 in Sochi, and definitely the circumstances are very different. How do you view the difference, and how does this reveal certain priorities or other priorities for the African continent?
Of course, there is a difference between 2019 and now, after 4 years later. At least we didn't have by that time the Ukrainian war, which is threatening our peace and economic development. So it is a good occasion to discuss this matter also, and to find arbitrators and some good countries in the power of Egypt, like Egypt or South Africa and so on, to intervene in order to find a good solution for everybody, because a good solution must take care of the interest of every party of the situation. And this is what we are expecting from such a conference. And I am of those who believe that the Ukrainian war can be stopped anytime with some serious effort and some good intention from all the parties.
When we speak about priorities that has been laid down by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and by the African countries, let me here take first the Egyptian vision. And the Egyptian vision started with peace and security to the continent and the conflicts in the continent.
Yes, also we have an initiative to ask all those who are fighting each other in Africa, whether country against country, or those who are fighting each other in the same country, like the Sudan case or the Somalia case. We are asking them to put off the fighting and to stop fighting. Then also we have to find solution to the diminishing economies everywhere because of the war and because of the epidemic corona, which stopped many airway companies from traveling. It affects our tourism sectors. It affects many, many dimensions of our economies. So this is the time, with this effort and other efforts everywhere, in order to bring the world to a more peaceful situation.
Your Excellency, speaking about peace and security again, and definitely and respectively, you spoke about important conflicts that are occurring in the continent. On top of them, of course, is the situation in Sudan, in Libya, now in Niger, and definitely conflicts are really in need to be settled. How do you view the external interference, and how does that interference reflect on the continent? And at the same time, how can peace and security for the continent be a win-win situation for the for all sides?
Yes, frankly, I am not with the theory of interference of foreign countries. Because if we are united, like give the case of Egypt, if we are united enough as people and citizens in our country, no foreign force can affect us. But the division is coming from within, inside every country. Then some countries would support one side and others would support the other side, and here comes the disaster. Because then the solution wouldn't come from within the country and its citizens, it will be enforced by the foreign forces, such as the situation in Syria, Lebanon, and Libya. This is the problem.
Settling conflicts, Your Excellency, and prevailing of peace and security, how will that reflect on strengthening the post-conflict construction, and how would that reflect also on the African countries from one side and the whole world on the other?
This is another side of the story, because on one side we are trying to stop the disastrous situation of the war and the disease. On the other side, we still want to develop our countries to face the increase in the population number, especially in a country in the size of Egypt. We are enlarging. We have birth rate, one of the highest in the world. While in Europe, for instance, they are diminishing because the birth rate is less than the death rate. And here we can make a good combination between the need of the European countries for more citizens and the need of the African countries to get rid of some of its population. And also Africa is seeking who will finance its development and its economic development. This is the situation, and it's not easy. But of course, with wise men, with wise intention, we can reach a solution for all these questions, of course.
Your Excellency, also Cairo has been leading a role in facilitating the intra-continental discussion through different spheres, the free trade agreement, the intra-continental discussion of the Aswan Forum for Peace and Sustainable Development, and also as the host of the African Union's Reconstruction and Development Center. How do you view the role Egypt is playing, particularly that this year also Egypt is the president of the NEPAD?
Here I see a small story of success. We succeeded to establish the COMESA and some other two sub-regional organizations. Now, according to the Egyptian initiative in 2019, all these subcontinental groups will be a big free trade area, taking all the African countries as members. And this is a very good occasion. Here in Egypt, I realize that our trade is expanding, our exports especially, and our trade balance is making surplus for the favor of Egypt. So we can continue this sort of process. And now we have one big free trade area combine all the African countries. This will attract more and more foreign direct investment because an investor would be attracted to a market of 1,200 million inhabitants. So this is a good movement. So we hope that this will continue. We hope that this will attract more investment and more help and aid to the countries who needs help and aid.
In its capacity as the president of the Nepal Egypt is determined to promote programs to foster linkage between peace, security and development. How the three axes are very much important to the continent, and how far do we need the help and aid of the international community at large to help the African acquire its aspiration in all those domains?
It is our duty as African recipient to do two things. Of course, to draw the attention of the whole world who can finance our projects and to make them happy to participate in our economic development. On the other side, we have to ameliorate the situation to make the investor who comes to our countries to be happy.
Hello.
Concerning his treatment by... Yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
You hear me?
Yes, yes, with you, Your Excellency. Please continue.
We need to ameliorate our bureaucracy, our banking system, our transports, or whether it is airway traffic or maritime traffic or road traffic. All these need a visit from all of us in order to make the investor in our country happier and more profitable.
Your Excellency, what does Africa need from the international community, particularly? What does Africa need from Russia in order to foster any kind of strategic partnership between the Russian side and the continent?
We need many things. We need finance at the beginning because we lack finance. The money going out of Africa is much more than it receives. We need experience also, which you can wait. It costs a lot. But if we can have experience from Russia or from Europe, China, Japan, the United States, this will help us. We need education also. And once a Chinese diplomat told me that China has 250,000 students in the United States. Imagine. So this is one sector where we need much more than we are doing. I hope that Egypt is doing a wonderful job by inviting many Africans to study in Egypt, especially in Al-Azhar al-Sharif, where thousands of Africans are studying in our Al-Azhar organization, whether the schools or the University of Al-Azhar. So we want to repeat this and encourage widening this sort of experience in order to have much more cooperation in this field also.
And Your Excellency, what does Africa need from the world? And definitely there is great interest and great focus on Africa from the whole world towards Africa, particularly those in this very specific time. What does Africa need?
We need many things. We need finance, we need cooperation and education. We need even education cooperation in order to make our students be in a better situation. We need to attract the donors to come and to invest in our country, but this is not easy.
We don't need donors, we
need
investors, Your Excellency.
Yeah.
We need investors, we don't really need donors.
The investor can invest easily in Europe and in America, even in Japan. But it is not easy for him to invest in our countries with all these problems we are talking about. So it is our duty also to make an investor coming in a much more better environment. And I must be frank to you that our mass media is not doing any job here, but on the contrary, some of our groups are against the foreign direct investment, thinking that we have enough money to invest for ourselves.
Definitely, however, there are very huge efforts that are being made by lots of African countries, and definitely Egypt is part of that effort. Your message from Africa to the whole world after this Russian summit and after the Chinese summit and after the American summit. Definitely many summits, African summits have been made. What is the message of Africa to the whole world?
The message is investing in Africa is a long-term investment. It is investment on peace and stability for all the countries of the world. Bearing in mind also that Africa has many resources and it can be the future land for producing more and more food for the area and for the whole world. And Africa is full of opportunities, but it is not easy. So this is a message for both sides, whether the donor or the recipient, in order to do their homework. And we hope that they can do it much easier with all this attention coming from China, from Europe, from the United States, from Japan, and now from Russia.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for being with us as usual and for your input. And I guess that Africa needs peace, needs security, needs stability, and overall needs lots and lots of developments to be able to fulfill the aspiration of the African people so they can live and sustain with the development in their own countries. And I guess that takes us to the end of this episode. Until next Saturday with other important topic. Goodbye.